What has happened so far with this global heat wave is quite unprecedented. Not only have we seen extreme temperatures in a number of places that have shattered local and regional records, but the global average temperature record was also broken. Not once, but three progressive times in the span of 4 days during the period of July 3rd to July 6th. The previous global average record occurred in August of 2016, and 2016 ended up being the hottest year on record to date. If we consider that, along with the number of times we broke and set the global temperature record this summer, 2023 could be on track to become the new hottest year on record. What we're seeing is the confluence of three compounding factors. One is that we're in the period of the year where we expect to see high temperatures, which is a summer season in the northern hemisphere. Secondly, what we're experiencing with this extreme heat is a consequence of the compounding and ongoing effects of climate change. What really drives that point home is the fact that the last 8 years, specifically 2015 to 2022, are currently the 8 hottest years on record. And finally, on top of all that, we have also shifted into an El Nino climate pattern that is expected to persist until the end of 2023. El Nino is one of the possible phases of a larger climate index called the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. El Nino is the warming phase of ENSO, while La Nina is the cooling phase. ENSO can also be in a neutral phase, as in neither La Nina nor El Nino. The ENSO climate index influences dry or wet behavior when it comes to rainfall, and warm or cool conditions when it comes to temperature. But that all depends on several variables, such as the ENSO phase we're experiencing, which region of the world we're considering, and even the season of the year that the signal is taking place in. Generally speaking, El Nino tends to be a driver for above average temperatures, especially if it coincides with the summer season. Besides that, when it comes to the MENA region, we may see extreme rainfall predominantly occur in two areas: in parts of East Africa, which can feed into the Nile River basin, and in parts of eastern Iran. This potential for extreme rainfall brings with it the risk of severe flooding in both areas. If air temperature is the observed measurement of how warm it is, the heat index is the perceived temperature humans may feel. Because in addition to accounting for air temperature, the heat index also accounts for humidity, which from our perspective can make high temperatures feel even hotter. In places with high humidity, like the coastal regions of the Middle East and North Africa, the heat index gives us a better indication of how severe temperatures can be on human populations. For example, and just recently on July 16, the Persian Gulf International Airport in Iran reported a heat index of 68 degrees Celsius due to a combination of 65% relative humidity and a high of 40 degrees Celsius. Without the heat index as a measurement, we would neglect to recognize the magnitude of the danger that this level of extreme heat is to humans. And this is important because scientific and medical studies have indicated that perceived temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius is where the human body is working exceptionally hard to continue to function, placing humans at an elevated risk for heat illness or death. The impact of this kind of warming on infrastructure and the built environment is also detrimental to humans. Cities and densely packed urban areas tend to absorb and trap this heat during the day, where it is then emitted out from urban infrastructure like buildings, roads, and sidewalks after sunset, offering no reprieve from the heat to urban residents. The dangers of this urban heat island effect can also manifest in unexpected ways. News reports from Phoenix, Arizona during its month-long streak of above 110-degree Fahrenheit highs in July shared stories of how people falling to the ground outdoors suffered second to third degree burns on their exposed skin, even if they only lay there for a minute or two, since exposed surface temperatures in Phoenix during the heat wave could be as high as 180 degrees Fahrenheit, just shy of boiling. The infrastructure itself can experience advanced degradation under this type of extreme heat, increasing the risk for material failure and the need for advanced maintenance and repair to avoid catastrophic failure of critical infrastructure assets. Earlier this year, the World Meteorological Organization warned there was a 98% likelihood that at least one of the next 5 years will set a new record for average global temperatures. The reality that 2023 could be that first record breaking year does raise concerns on whether the next 4 years will also be as sweltering when it comes to dangerous levels of extreme heat. The short term implication being that we could now be on an accelerated trajectory of warming where limiting average global temperature increases to below 2 degrees Celsius is no longer feasible. In such a future trajectory, a higher frequency of sustained heat waves, wildfires, extreme weather, and flooding could become more commonplace.